Is America finally set for its first woman president? Is the Clinton legacy an advantage or a disadvantage? And what would a Clinton presidency mean for India? I want to go across live to Washington. Joining us from there on the newsroom tonight is Alisa Ayers, one of the foremost experts on foreign policy, looking very closely at South Asia. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us, and good morning to you. As a woman yourself, are you excited about the possibility of America's first woman president? And do you think Hillary has what it takes to go across the line this time? Will she be second time lucky?
Hi, Rahul. Thanks for having me on, and good evening to you. I think for many women in the United States, the idea of finally breaking that glass ceiling is something that's quite exciting. So we'll look forward to seeing what happens here. As it stands right now, within the Democratic Party, she is the most credible challenger. If you look at the recent polls that have been coming out, her favorability rating has dipped below 50%, but it's still a 48% favorability rating. If you look at the recent Pew poll that came out last week, 59% of Democrats say that they would have a good chance of voting for her. So she looks like a very strong candidate within the Democratic Party. Of course, there's the general election to contend with, and there's probably going to be a tough primary battle for the Republican nomination.
You know, one of the big concerns which is taking up a lot of media space in the US seems to be that she's 67 now. She's way older than Barack Obama was when he became president, that Bill Clinton was when he became president, and she simply doesn't reach out to the young generation, the youth in the United States. Now, she's tried to address that in the first campaign video, but would that be a big problem, that she seems too much of the old stuff and not new enough?
I'm not sure what the answer to that will be, quite honestly. I mean, if you look at the way our electorate has changed, I simply don't know. I mean, she's not, Ronald Reagan was in his later years when he ran for president, of course, and it just depends on how many of the youth vote come out to vote. And so that's something that's very difficult to answer at the moment. I think that's going to be something that people are tracking closely in polls over the course of the coming months.
And there's a lot of talk about how George Bush's brother, Jeb Bush, who's called the smartest Bush in the family, may be throwing in his ring, and that would really be some kind of a big electoral contest, a Bush versus a Clinton in the race for White House?
Well, you've got a Jeb Bush candidacy. You've got Marco Rubio, also from Florida, who declared today. You've got Rand Paul, who's declared. We'll have to see who else declares in the Republican Party. But that party is shaping up to have a tightly fought contest on their hands.
Okay, and how does a possible Hillary Clinton presidency impact India and South Asia?
I think a Hillary Clinton presidency would probably place a high priority on relations with India. Certainly, we have the track record of her time as Secretary of State to look back on, and that provides some very good guideposts. As Secretary of State, Secretary Clinton spent a lot of time focusing on what people call the rebalance to Asia, or the pivot to Asia strategy, in which India was an important part. If you take a look at the big policy essay she published in Foreign Policy in 2011, she focused on developing ties with Asia's rising powers, China, India, and Indonesia. She focused on India as a kind of core part of the new Silk Road vision during her speech in Chennai in 2011. I think you would see an administration focused on furthering its ties with India, not only commercially, but also in terms of finding ways to work together with an important rising power.
You know, one of the big complaints in India about Barack Obama has been that he hasn't done enough to get Pakistan to walk the talk on terror. Whether it is Zakiur Rahman Lakhvi, whether it is a Hafiz Saeed, they're getting too much of a long rope from the Pakistani state. How is Hillary Clinton likely to approach terrorism emanating from our neighborhood?
Yes, I think, well, certainly that's a very difficult question for any American to answer because I think the United States has tried many different approaches with Pakistan and not found any of them to produce the kinds of policy results one would like to see. So that said, I think you would see with a Clinton presidency someone focused on being very frank with Pakistan about the problems of terrorism that remain unaddressed in their country.
All right.
President Obama has done that as well. But again, Pakistan remains the big foreign policy challenge for the United States, given how difficult it has been to find the right policy tools.
Well, all those questions, of course, are still some distance away. She first needs to win nomination in her own party and then the trust of the American people. She slipped once. Will she be second time lucky? What a contest this will be. A Clinton versus a Bush in the race to the White House, if it does shape up like that. Alisa Ayers for joining us on the newsroom this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rahul.